examination coaching for UPSC CSC, State Public Service Commission, SSC Combined Graduate Level, and CLAT examinations. So do visit AKS IAS Academy and also the website of AKS IAS Academy. About me, I am Sandeep Bhushan Tumala, and my credentials are: I have 10 years of teaching experience for civil services. I teach international relations and internal security and analysis of the Hindu newspaper. And my session or the daily news analysis at AKS IAS Academy will certainly help you to crack prelims and mains examinations, because I would be emphasizing throughout my session, I would be emphasizing on the keywords and the key phrases. So the keywords and the key phrases I would be picking up from the newspaper, that is the daily news analysis, and emphasizing on the keywords and the key phrases, we will definitely identify the factual, analytical, and conceptual questions which are or which will be certainly useful for the preliminary examination. So thereby you will be benefited by the daily news analysis for the preliminary examination. The factual, analytical, and conceptual questions, you would be certainly identifying them. And in regards to the mains examination, this session will definitely help you, because I would be making you understand the importance of inculcating the keywords and the key phrases in regards to your mains examination, that is specifically in regards to your answer writing. So definitely in regards to your answer writing, when you are able to imbibe the keywords and the key phrases, your answers in the mains examinations descriptive will certainly be precise and concise. And once you are precise and concise and to the point what the UPSC is demanding from you, so certainly you will score higher marks in the mains examination. So therefore, the daily news analysis at AKS IAS Academy will certainly help you to crack both prelims and mains examinations for 2020 as well as 2021. And this session is in regards to the daily news analysis, which will be today's, that is 7th of September 2020. As I reiterate, my tagline goes ahead with emphasizing on the keywords and the key phrases. As I said, it will be useful for you for prelims, mains, and also in regards to the personality test, that is interview also. And before I get into the daily news analysis, I would say good morning to all who are in the live chat and also in the live. Good morning to all, one and all. And I would request that the one who is in the live but are not in the live chat, please do part of the live chat so that we can share more of information through the interactive sessions. And I would say a very good morning to Sesi Reddy. A warm welcome to you to AKS IAS Academy Daily News Analysis. And the quote of the day is: the best way to walk, or the best way to make your dreams, the best way to make your dreams come true is to wake up. So what is important, that you need to achieve whatever you have the goals, and especially you as a civil servant aspirant, you certainly have the goals or the dream to become a bureaucrat. So for that, certainly to your dreams to be fulfilled, you have to wake up. You cannot just lie down and think about your dreams. You need to wake up and then get into the mode of the track, and then you can definitely achieve the dreams. And before I get into the daily news analysis, I would once again say a warm welcome to Ramya Reddy, Mohammad Imran, P. Harshavardhan, VC Venkatesh. All of you, a warm welcome to you all to AKS IAS Academy Daily News Analysis. And we'll get into the topic directly. That is, the news which you have is government suspends FCRA clearance of 4 suspends FCRA clearance of 4 Christian groups. So the keyword here is for you to be focusing, because I said I would be emphasizing on the keywords and the key phrases. So the keyword here in regards to the daily news analysis of this particular news item is the Foreign Contribution Regulation Act. Foreign Contribution Regulation Act. So this is the keyword which you need to focus for both for prelims as well as you can make a point or reference even in the mains examinations. Even in the mains examinations. So where you can make the reference in regards to the FCRA Act or Foreign Contribution Regulation Act, I would certainly say. So the who has suspended when we are talking about the government? Yes, definitely the Home Ministry or Union Home Ministry has suspended out of the 6 NGOs. They have suspended 4 and 4 are Christian associations. So Union Health Ministry under Foreign Contribution Regulation Act have suspended 4 out of total 6 NGOs, and in the 6 NGOs 4 are related to the Christian association. So we will focus on the associations which were been suspended. Okay, the other 2 are the one which were part of the leprosy. I mean the one who are working for the leprosy. So 4 are in regards to the Christian association and the 2 are in regards to the they were working for the So what are these FCRA? I mean, they have gone ahead with the license, and what they do is that they are all these NGOs or non-profit organizations, definitely non-government or non-profit organizations, and these non-profit or NGOs, they need to make sure that they provide the license from the Union Health Ministry. Union Home Ministry. So the NGOs have to, or it is a mandatory for the NGOs or the non-profit organization to have a license from the Union Home Ministry. For what license they should have? So that they receive, please do understand, this is important, they should have license to receive the foreign funds. So here what is that the other keywords, what we need to, I mean you need to focus is foreign funds. So the non-profit organizations which are in the mode of receiving the foreign funds have to have a license received by the Union Home Ministry. So thereby in regards to the foreign funds, receiving of the foreign funds on the basis or in taking into consideration the Foreign Contribution Regulation Act, the Union Home Ministry has suspended or cancelled 6 NGOs license. So this is important. So in total there are 22,457 NGOs, and out of that the licenses of 20,674 were cancelled and 6,702 are deemed to be expired. So this they have been expired because they haven't renewed. So they haven't renewed. So these NGOs, they haven't renewed their license. So 6,702 were cancelled, and then out of 22,457 NGOs under FCRA have been cancelled. And before I get into the next slide, Malvika Sajivan, Harika Yadav, Gopinayak, D. Suvarna, all of you a warm welcome to AKSIS Academy Daily News Analysis. So please do take it into consideration. This is an important news because the keywords what you need to focus here is FCRA, Union Home Ministry, and they are the they receive the foreign funds. They receive the foreign funds. And here we will focus the 4 organizations or Christian organizations which were the license were cancelled or suspended. So here if you look at, it is US based evangelical donors including the Seventh-day Adventist Church. So there is a church which is the US based evangelical. So they are the one who go ahead with preachings of the Lord Jesus. So the Seventh-day Adventist Church and Baptist Church. Seventh-day Adventist Church and then Baptist Church were actually regarded in regards to the impact of this, and they were part of it. And along with that, there are the other four groups wherein, or Christian association wherein the license were cancelled. First is Acrosoculus Northwestern Gossamer Evangelical, which is in Jharkhand, and the second one is Evangelical Churches Association in Manipur. Third one is Northern Evangelical Lutheran Church in Jharkhand, and then fourth one is New Life Fellowship Association, which is Mumbai. So why is it necessary? Is, as I said, based on the FCRA. Based on the FCRA, we have to look at this for the preliminary examination, and not only that, for the preliminary examination, which are the four Christian associations whose license were cancelled or suspended by the Union Home Ministry under, as we have looked at, under the Foreign Contribution Regulation Act. So it could be in regards to the match the following. Match the following question. I mean the question in regards to match the following for the prelims point of view. So for that, what we look at this, the four Christian association. So Acrosoculus Northern Western Gossamer, which is in now Jharkhand. So this one is important. And Evangelical Churches Association is based, or it is in Manipur. And the third one is Northern Evangelical Lutheran Church, which is again in Jharkhand. And the fourth one is New Life Fellowship Association, which is in Mumbai. So there could be a possibility that the four Christian associations which have been suspended by Union Home Ministry under FCRA. So they could be a match the following question. Fine. And they have founded that NLFA, that is in regards to the New Life Fellowship Association, is actually, or they have the origin in New Zealand, 1964, and they have come to India in the mid 60s. So this is why I am saying is for preliminary point of view. Prithvi Raju has joined. Warm welcome to you. So do take it into consideration these things, that is the associations and which state they are actually based and from which country they have actually been, or the origin of these associations, which country. So the New Life Fellowship Association, which is in Mumbai, the origin is, or they have come from the New Zealand in mid 1960s. And in regards to the Evangelical Church Association, they are in Manipur, but they are from Welsh or Wales, where it is part of UK. So from United Kingdom. And Acrosoculus Northwestern Gossamer Evangelical, its origin is from Germany. And the North Evangelical Lutheran Church, they are across various countries. I mean across various countries, or else 99 countries they are across. And Lutheran is the Martin Luther, who, I mean, it is the one who has gone ahead with the preachings, or they has come up with the preachings of the Lord Jesus. Almost from 16th century. So this is important, which state they are in India and from which country. So from which country origin, and in our country, that is in India, in which state they are. So these are important for match the following. I hope you have got the point here. So which states in India? So Manipur, if we are looking at, it is from, as we discussed, it is from Welsh, that is from UK. I'll write it here. It is from UK. And then Luther or Lutheran Church is from almost across the globe, from 99 countries. And then this is in regards to Germany. So Germany, New Zealand, from various other countries, from UK or else from Europe itself, and then UK. So this is important for prelims point of view. And the Foreign Contribution Regulation Act. Foreign Contribution Regulation Act, Christian associations of the groups, in which state they are in India and from which country the origin. This is important for prelims point of view. And you can definitely make a note even in the mains examination. And this is an additional information because there could be a possibility that they might not, UPSC might not focus on the four Christian association, there's which state they are actually based and the origin from which country. They might focus only on the Foreign Contribution Regulation Act. So this is again an additional information I am providing for you, because that this will be useful for you in regards to the prelims point of view, that is FCRA, that is Foreign Contribution Regulation Act. And this act was enacted by the Parliament for what? To regulate. Please do understand the main intention, to regulate the foreign contribution or foreign funds, as we discussed. So the main intention is to regulate the foreign contribution which are getting into India through NGOs, and this was originally passed in the year 1976. Please do understand, in the year 1976, and this was in conjunction, when it was passed in the year 1976, it was in conjunction, that was, it was in tune with other laws, for example, like Foreign Exchange Regulation Act 1973. So when you are looking at the information in regards to Foreign Contribution Regulation Act 2010, you need to understand when it was originally passed in the year 1976, and that was in conjunction with other laws like Foreign Exchange Regulation Act. So Foreign Exchange Regulation Act, now Foreign Contribution Regulation Act, rather than exchange, now contribution. It was earlier Foreign Exchange Regulation Act 1973. Now it is Foreign Contribution Regulation Act 2010, and this was originally passed in the year 1976 in conjunction with the previous acts like Foreign Exchange Regulation Act. And why this? There was again an amendment being done in the year 2010, is that there were few deficiencies which were found in the 1976 Act, and they have amended or changed the word in 1976. They have amended the word regulation to prohibition. So they can prohibition of the utilization of the foreign funds. And this Act of 1976, which was originally passed, has come into, or it was modified, it was amended in the year 2010. It was amended in the year 2010, and it has come into act on 2011, or May 1st 2011. May 1st 2011 it has come into force or act. So this, for prelims point of view, this is very useful for you. Probably if they are not focusing on the four Christian association, the states which they are actually functioning now and the origin, keep that aside. And now what we need to focus is, along with that, the Foreign Contribution Regulation Act 1973, 1976, 2010, 2011. Foreign Exchange Regulation Act, Foreign Contribution Regulation Act 1976, and amendment been done to the Foreign Contribution Regulation Act in the year 2010, and then the amendment was done from regulation to prohibition. This is very useful. From what to what? Regulation to prohibition of acceptance and utilization of the foreign contribution. And it has come into act force on May 1st, 2011. So I hope you will definitely follow this way. Before I get into the topic, Santoshi G has joined, Venkat Nayak, Bhargav, Kundal, I've also all joined. A warm welcome to you all to AKS IAS Academy. And Kundal, if you are, I hope you are new to this AKS IAS Academy daily news analysis, and a warm welcome to you. And the other news we'll focus here is India-Iran discuss Afghan peace. So look at it, Afghan peace process. So look at it, that who is having interest in the Afghanistan, that is the peace in Afghanistan. Okay, what is that? And what I should repeat is that in regards to this FCRA. So okay, so you need to understand the 1973, that is Foreign Exchange Regulation Act 1973, and again the originally the Foreign Contribution Regulation Act in 1976, and then modification done or amendments done in the year 2010. Fine, that is from regulation to prohibition, and then it has come into acts in the force in the year 2011. Okay, fine. So look at it now. Who is interested or who wants peace to be restored in Afghanistan? It is India and Iran. So if you look at the Taliban peace deal. So Taliban peace deal was brokered by US. Fine. So they wanted the Afghanistan reconciliation of Afghanistan. That means they wanted peace. So we know that in Afghanistan there is a rift between the Afghan government versus Taliban. There is a rift in the sense there is a fight, you can say, between the Afghan government versus Taliban. So to resolve the issue, that is the rift or the fight between the Afghan government and the Taliban, US has brokered a deal that is called a Taliban peace deal. And in that process, even the US special representative has made it very clear that along with US President Donald Trump, that India should play a vital role in the peace process or the Afghanistan reconciliation process. Afghanistan reconciliation process or peace process. US has made it very clear, Donald Trump, that India has to play a vital role in regards to the peace in Afghanistan. Fine. And now in that process, probably India and Iran have discussed ways for looking forward for in regards to the bilateral cooperation. So both the countries have discussed in regards to the bilateral cooperation. So when they have discussed the bilateral cooperation and they have also exchanged the views. So they have both the countries, the defense ministers of both the countries, that is India and Iran, have looked forward or they have discussed in regards to the bilateral cooperation and exchanged views. And they have exchanged views. That means they have discussed on what? On regional security issues and the peace and stability in Afghanistan. This is important. Look at it. That means it is not only that the US is wanting to go ahead with Afghanistan reconciliation process in Afghanistan. Along with that, India is also taking an initiative because it is bordering Afghanistan, because it is a neighboring country. So it wanted to make sure that it wanted to involve, and then it has exchanged views or discussed with the Iran defense minister, or India with Iran have discussed, because India also has very good relations with Iran in regards to the oil, that is crude oil. It is in regards to crude oil. In spite of US having its economic sanctions on Iran, still India has maintained a friendly relation with Iran. So that is the base which wherein both the countries are going ahead with the bilateral cooperation, and they have exchanged views in regards to the regional security issues and peace and stability in Afghanistan. And both the countries are also emphasizing on that age-old cultural, linguistic and civilization ties which both the countries have, because India is neighboring Afghanistan and Afghanistan neighbors India, and we have that, what do you say, cultural, linguistics and civilization ties between both India and Iran, also with, what do you say, India and Afghanistan. So thereby both the countries India and Iran should work in tandem for the peace and stability in Afghanistan. That is what is the interest of both India and Iran. Both, I am saying India and Iran interest. And Afghanistan is the heart of Africa, heart of Asia. Afghanistan is heart of Asia, and it is geostrategically very important for India. Geostrategically, it is very important for India. Not only geostrategically, it is very important for India, it is important for USA and Russia also. Thereby, they have their own personal interest. USA and Russia have their personal interest in Afghanistan. But strategically, India should also get into the mode of trying to make sure that it also, I mean, India also tries to work for the peace or reconciliation process in Afghanistan, so that we can skip Pakistan and then get into Afghanistan for the trade. Fine. And in the process, Iran has also, as Iran is 95%, Iran has Shia sect or Shia country, and they have also raised the concern in regards to the issue of safety of minorities in India. They have raised the concern about this issue of safety of minorities in India. So the keywords are Afghan peace process or Afghanistan reconciliation process, bilateral cooperation between India and Iran, and they have exchanged views on energy security issues is the keyword, peace and stability in Afghanistan is the keyword, and then having this cultural, linguistic and civilization trade ties between India and Iran. And definitely from India side has, when there was an issue raised in regards to the insecurities of minorities, or they wanted the security of minorities in India, so India has responded that yes, definitely India is a pluralistic culture. As India is a pluralistic culture, it definitely respects all the sects and the religions, and all there are many sects and religions which live in India together, in India, which is a pluralistic culture. That is what was being given assurance from India, that is from the Defense Minister Rajnath Singh to the Defense Minister of Iran in regards to the security of Muslims in India. And you have another news which talks about Mopla writers, not freedom fighters. So here Mopla writers or Mopla rebellion or Malabar also. This you need to focus in regards to the history and culture, or history, specifically history in regards to the Mopla issue in Kerala. Mopla issue in Kerala. From history point of view, no doubt we are focusing on the report. But you should also focus. There could be a question on the Moplas. Why? Because of the report which has been submitted. So there was a committee which was set up by ICHR. So what is ICHR? Indian Council of Historical Research. So Indian Council of Historical Research has set up a committee, and this committee has given a report, and this committee has given a report, and it has it was submitted a report wherein in that report this committee wanted to remove the wagon tragedy victims and Malabar rebellion leaders such as Ali Musliar, Warinkunath Ahmad Haji, and Haji's two brothers from the book on martyrs of India's freedom struggle. So they wanted to remove the names of Musliar and Ahmad Aji, and two brothers of Ahmad Aji. From where? From the book. So this book is important for you. That is book called as Martyrs of India's Freedom Struggle. Martyrs. That means they have fought for India's freedom struggle. So what is in the book is that the Malabar rebellion leaders, what the report says, not me, what the report says is that Ali Musliar and Waramkunath Ahmad Aji and two brothers of Aji, which they have been mentioned in the book, that is the Martyrs of India's Freedom Struggle. What the report suggests or sought is removal of the names of almost 380 Moplar writers from the list of martyrs. This is important. This is the keyword. So the list of martyrs. So martyrs in the sense who have fought for the freedom, that is India's freedom and they have lost their lives. They are called as martyrs. Martyrs. So is it clear now? Venkat Naik, is it clear now? Okay. So this report wanted, they are seeking the removal of the names of 387 Moplar writers from the list of martyrs, wherein it is mentioned in the book, that is in the book called as, this is useful for you for the prelims point of view or for a better conceptual understanding, Martyrs of India's Freedom Struggle. So the book is the Dictionary of Martyrs, India's Freedom Struggle 1857 to 1947, was released by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Dictionary of Martyrs. This book, please do keep it in mind or write it. Dictionary of Martyrs, India's Freedom Struggle from 1857 to 1947. So the report, the committee submitted the report, which was constituted by the Indian Council of Historical Research, in removal of two things here. They wanted to remove two things, that is wagon tragedy victims. The wagon is what? Here when we are talking about wagon, it is same like train booth, or you have that train bogie. So you had that killing and all that, and Malabar rebellion leaders. These two have to be removed, they said. So this you focus from history point of view, and you focus from report, that is the ICHR, Indian Council of Historical Research. So who is the member of the council, that is C.I. Isaac, has submitted the report, and he has recommended the deletion, as we discussed, deletion of the names from the 5th volume, which covers the martyrs of the freedom struggle. And what, please do understand, what the report says I am saying. What the report has said, I am saying. And the report said that Haji was a notorious Moplarite leader and a hardcore criminal who had killed innumerable people in the 1921 Moplarite. So again, what is important is, for history point of view, 1921 Moplarite. you focus for prelims point of view, this point. Mopla Roy, 1921. And deposited the bodies, all the people, innocent people who were killed, were deposited in the bodies in a well, and that instant is known as Tunvur Kinar. Again for UPSC prelims point of view. See, we should be very logical, scientific and rational, that we should not get into the depth of being emotional or anything, because UPSC will focus only for gaining marks. I mean, you should focus only for gaining marks. And Haji was arrested by the army and he was tried in the court and shot dead January 20. He was shot dead on January 20, 1922. And there was, as I said, the ICHR has constituted a 3-member committee, including Mr. Isaac, who has submitted the report, and he has sought that the names should be deleted from the list of the martyrs. And good job has joined, Janardhan. A warm welcome to you. And this is very, very, very useful and important news for you all. Not only you all, the one who prepares for UPSC or any competitive exam in regards to the polity. Because I think you have heard about Keshavananda Bharati case 1973. So we all know that Keshavananda Bharati case, probably always. So we never thought about, or many of the civil servant aspirants, now they will definitely focus, or you have to focus. So Keshavananda Bharati, a savior of the constitution. Keshavananda Bharati. Keshavananda Bharati is a savior of the constitution. And why this is in news? Because Keshavananda Bharati has passed away. He passed away when? Yesterday, September 6, 2020. Because every competitive, a student who prepares for competitive examination has to and will know about Keshavananda Bharati case. Should and will and should know about the Keshavananda Bharati case. And that person has passed away yesterday, that is September 6, 2020. That is why we are talking about him. That is Keshavananda Bharati is a savior of the constitution who has passed away. And this person, Keshavananda Bharati, who has passed away, was a petitioner. This we need to was a petitioner in the historic fundamental rights case. In the historic fundamental rights case, and this case has prevented what? The nation from slipping into a totalitarian regime. Why totalitarian regime? I will explain. Why totalitarian regime? We will look into it. So it has stopped the nation or prevented the nation in slipping into totalitarian regime. Why? Because, and as it is an historic and it is a landmark judgment. It is a landmark case or landmark judgment. Why? Because before we get into why, the basic structure, before we get into the keyword of the basic structure, we will look into what exactly happened. Why Keshavananda Bharati case is now so famous, and what was the initially why he has come up, and why, he was a petitioner in which case. So he was a petitioner in regards to and this was a landmark judgment, and this Keshavananda Bharati case, and Keshavananda Bharati has been a petitioner even in regard, especially in the Kerala land reforms law. So Kerala land reforms law were challenged, though the judgment in the landmark case he did not win. Please do understand. When he has filed a petition or he wanted the amendments to be done in the Kerala Land Reforms Law. This is very important because everyone talks about Keshav Nanda Bharati case in regards to the basic structure. That basic structure should not be changed or amended. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. But what is the one which is really important? The main intention of Keshav Nanda Bharati actually coming up to the fore and then challenging the first time is in the year 1973. That is, he has challenged the Kerala Land Reforms Law, but were upheld or supported by the Supreme Court in 1973. That is why it says he did not win any relief in the case, but he has challenged the Kerala Land Reforms Law in the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court has upheld or supported the Kerala Land Reforms. He did not win it. And who was the one who was representing Keshav Nanda Bharati is Nani Palkhiwala. This is again this person, because you never know, UPSC might not focus on Keshav Nanda Bharati, but might focus on the one or the advocate who has represented Keshav Nanda Bharati case is Nani Palkhiwala. And Palkhiwala saw an opportunity through Swamiji's case. This is important. Please do understand, this is very useful for you. Conceptual understanding. Mr. Palkhiwala saw an opportunity through Swamiji's case, that is Keshav Nanda Bharati case, to challenge a series of constitutional amendments. Look at it. Nani Palkhiwala has or else he has got an opportunity through Keshav Nanda Bharati case in regards to the Keshav Nanda Bharati being a petition in regards to wanting the amendments to be done in the Kerala land reforms, which he has challenged in the Supreme Court but did not win. But here look at it, Palkhiwala has taken this opportunity or used his opportunity, or he has looked at this as an opportunity to challenge a series of constitutional amendments which were introduced by Indira Gandhi government. And granting an unlimited power to Parliament, and granting an unlimited powers to Parliament and to alter the constitution or to amend the constitution. This is very important. This is very important. So, Keshav Nanda Bharati case, initially it is in regards to the Kerala Land Reforms Law. But Palkhiwala, the senior advocate who has represented this Keshav Nanda Bharati, has seen an opportunity to challenge a series of constitutional amendments which were introduced by Indira Gandhi government, giving an unlimited powers to the Parliament to alter the constitution. Now, I think you can link this, that the petitioner in the historical fundamental rights case which prevented the nation from slipping into totalitarian regime, that is giving an unlimited power to Parliament to alter the constitution so that it will not be a totalitarian regime under the Indira Gandhi government. That is what the news talks about, today's newspaper. And this is very useful for you, because you would certainly have a better insights in regards to the Keshav Nanda Bharati case. Kerala land reforms, Nani Palkhiwala. I presume probably the one who is listening to my lecture, that is AKS IAS Academy Daily News Analysis, probably many of them do not know who was the advocate who was representing Keshav Nanda Bharati. Nani Palkhiwala. So you have insights, a better insights in regards to this Keshav Nanda Bharati case. And there is a book called as Courtroom. Again, this is important for prelims point of view. Courtroom Genius. It is a biography. Biography of whom? Mr. Palkhiwala. Why we are talking this is, there could be a question in the UPSC in the prelims. not about Keshavananda Bharati. There could be a question on the senior advocate, the then senior advocate, Mr. Palkiwala. He is Mr. Palkiwala. He is Keshavananda Swami or Keshavananda Bharati, who has passed away yesterday, September 6th. So, this book was co-authored by Soli Sorabji, former Attorney General, Solicitor General Soli Sorabji and Arvind Datar. This, why I am saying is, books and authors, current affairs, in regards to the books on authors, in that stream, there could be a possibility that a question can be asked on the senior advocate who has represented Keshavananda Bharati and challenged the government of the day is Mr. Palkiwala. And that book is the biography of Mr. Palkiwala, co-authored two of them, Soli Sorabji and Arvind Datar. And Keshavananda Bharati versus State of Kerala, we know that it was this Keshavananda Bharati case was bench of 13 judges. Look at it, 13 judges. It is the largest formed in the Supreme Court, 13 judges bench. Because I always reiterate whenever I take up in regards to the Supreme Court verdicts, I make it a point that I say it is a 1 judge bench or 2 judge bench, 3 judge bench, 5 judge bench, 7 judge bench, 9 judge bench, 11 judge bench, 13 judge bench. I always say this. Fine. Why? Because you need to always get into the mode or thinking. You should start thinking the number of judges in the bench. You need to know the bench. Number of judges in the bench. So that case, that is the Keshavananda Bharati case, was the state of Kerala in regards to the Kerala Land Reforms Law, was heard by 13 judges. And it went on for 68 working days from October 1972 to March 1973. And Keshavananda Bharati judgment has innovated. Now we'll come to the point, because many of you know this. That is, it has brought in the basic structure doctrine. Keshavananda Bharati case versus state of Kerala has innovated the basic structure doctrine, which this has limited what? The parliament's power. The power of parliament. It has limited the parliament power to go ahead with the drastic amendments wherein they cannot touch or they cannot amend the core values. The parliament also cannot amend the core values or the basic structure which is enshrined, like secularism or federalism. Secularism and federalism. So federalism is the one and secularism is the one which the core values, those values should not be amended. That was the judgment in the Keshavananda Bharati case, which wherein the basic structures cannot be touched or altered. And not only that, it has evolved the concept of separation of powers. Please do take it into consideration what the Keshavananda Bharati case has brought up. So as we looked at, it has innovated what? The basic structure of doctrine. It has innovated the basic structure and the concept of separation of power, that is in regards to the legislative, executive and judiciary. And there what it says is democracy 1 with 7:6, because I said 13 judge bench. So 7:6 the majority has got. That it was a very thin, wafer thin majority, only one judge or the 13th judge. That is, again this is important, in the 13th judge bench, who was the 13th judge, who was very crucial, was Justice, this again you need to know it, Khanna. Justice H.R. Khanna was the 13th judge who has supported the view that constitution amendment should not alter the basic structure of the constitution. So wherein the basic structure of the constitution has been innovated, Through the Keshavananda Bharati case in 1973, the 13th judge was Justice H.R. Khanna. Again, very important for prelims point of view. And in regards to 13th judge case, it has won a very thin majority, wafer thin majority, that is 7:6. And later on, we have seen the judgment. After the judgment, they have replaced supersession, that is replaced three judges of the Supreme Court. So which are the three judges? That is J.M. Shelath, and then A.N. Grover, and then K.S. Egde. They were replaced. All the three were replaced, and they, in fact, they have resigned because there was a public furor. Furor in the sense public dissent, or that public did not like. So they have resigned. All these three have resigned later on. Resigned, and emergency was proclaimed shortly after the judgment was released. So the Keshavananda Bharati judgment was released, or it was delivered on April 24, 1973. This is again useful for you. So please do look at. So look at this. The news is because of the passing away of the Keshavananda Bharati. He has passed away, but we are focused in regards to the Keshavananda Bharati. Yeah, 1969, but it was challenged. That is what? Malvika Sachivan. It was challenged in 1973 by Keshavananda Bharati. No doubt about it. It was challenged. He wanted amendments. He wants amendments to be done or to be taken up in the Kerala land reforms, and he has challenged it in 1973. Once again, repeat 7:6. Okay, 7:6 is what? So as I said, this case was 13 judge bench. Bench is what? The number of judges. Number of judges who are taking up this case. Bench means the number of judges. So the bench or the number of judges is 13. So in this entire case, 7 were yes, 6 were no. So the case has been won. So 7 judges were against, was in favor of that they should not alter the basic structure, and 6 were okay. Whenever the parliament decides, so parliament can take a call in regards to amending the basic structure also of the Indian constitution. So here in this case, 7 judges have said that parliament cannot have the ultimate power to alter the basic structure. That is why it was a wafer thin majority, and the 13th judge who has actually favored that there should not be an amendment to the basic structure. Basic structures have to be basic structure itself. You should not amend to it. They should not be amended even by the parliament itself. Is Justice H.R. Khanna. I think Venkat Naik, you have got the point now. And Suvarna also, I think you have cleared that 1969, 1973, and then 7:6 judge. And Azmat Khan has joined. Warm welcome to you. Pratyusha, warm welcome. Ramawat, warm welcome. All of you, warm welcome to AKS IAS Academy who have joined just now to daily news analysis. And we will also discuss another news which talks about Hezbollah and Hamas chiefs meet to discuss Israel-Arab ties. So here, before I get into the topic, what I would say here is that Israel and UAE. Israel and UAE. Why? Because we have seen in the month of August, or August 15 or August 16, yes, absolutely August 13. So we have seen on August 13, there was diplomatic ties which was revamped, or diplomatic relations have been again progressed between Israel and UAE. So Israel is Jews, Arab countries, part of Arab country, Jewish or Jew. So Israel had a war, 6-day war, with one side Israel and the other side you had Egypt there, Jordan, Lebanon, and in regards to even Palestine, fine. So all these countries which were part of the Arab countries, they fought against Israel, but Israel has won that 6-day deadly war. Fine. So since then, there is a rift between the Jewish and the Arab countries, or Israel and Arab countries. But we have seen on August 13, 2020, August 13, 2020, Israel has come up with making sure that the bilateral ties they have strengthened between Israel and Arab. Fine. So this is now not liked by Lebanon and Palestine. Look at it. Now I am getting it to the point. Lebanon and Palestine. So here when I am talking about, it is not the Lebanon government or Palestinian government. No, we are not talking that Lebanon government and Palestinian government is not happy between the ties which have been strengthened between Israel and UAE. No, it is not the government. It is from Lebanon. It is the Hezbollah. So as I said, Hezbollah is a separatist or rebellion group, and Palestine's here Hamas. You have a Hamas group and then Hezbollah groups. We have seen recently Israel has bombarded the Hezbollahs in the northeastern of Israel, or which were based in the Lebanon and trying to strike Israel. So based on that I am saying, so what is the news here we have to focus is Hezbollah and Hamas, they both have discussed the diplomatic normalization between the Jewish ties and Arab countries. That is what is that. What is that the normalization is? Diplomatic normalization which has taken place is between Israel and UAE on August 13, 2020. So I have given the background, and they have discussed about the diplomatic normalization between Israel and UAE, and they also stressed on the stability and axis of resistance against Israel, because these groups are not really happy with the Israel. So they have stressed, they have discussed on the stability and the axis of resistance. That means how the groups, that is Hezbollah or Hamas, can resist against the Jews or Israel itself. So that was discussed. So in regards to the Hezbollah, or who is the chief of Hezbollah, is Hassan Nasrallah. Hassan Nasrallah is the chief of Hezbollah, a group. And then in regards to the Hamas, the chief is Ismail Haniyeh. And they also discuss in regards to political and military development in Palestine and Lebanon. So it is that the Hezbollah and Hamas have discussed about the political and military developments both in Palestine. Palestine means, okay, I will show you. Palestine constitutes the Gaza Strip. I will show you. Constitutes Gaza Strip and West Bank. WEST, West, BANK, bank. Fine. As I said, on August 30, I have discussed all that, and this was brokered by, or the one who has actually been at the forefront in regards to the Israel and UAE is for normalizing the diplomatic relation is US. It's a US backed diplomatic. Why they wanted to go ahead US? Because they wanted to boost the regional alliance. Why? They wanted to boost the regional alliance against whom? Against Iran. Against Iran. Why? Because the Hezbollah group is the one which is being supported by Iran. And who is the Prime Minister of Israel? Benjamin Netanyahu. So Benjamin Netanyahu is definitely having talks with other Muslim leaders also to normalize the diplomatic relations, between the Jews and the Arab and Muslim leaders. So August 13, it is Israel and UAE. So earlier it was Israel and Jordan, and before that it was Israel and Egypt. So what is important for you for prelims point of view and for a conceptual understanding is the diplomatic normalization. This is a key word. Diplomatic normalization between Israel and other Arab countries. In that, the first is Egypt, then Jordan, and now UAE. And in fact, the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, is still in talks with other Arab leaders. Benjamin Netanyahu is in touch or is in talks with the other Arab or Muslim leaders to normalize the diplomatic relations with those countries. And that move is being discussed politically and militarily between the Hamas and Hezbollah. Please do understand, this is important. So if you look at here, see, this is Egypt, Jordan, you have Syria, you have Lebanon here. As I said, Lebanon can be asked in the geography map based, because we have seen in regards to the Beirut explosion, and then again in regards to the Israel and then Lebanon, in regards to the Hezbollah, were being targeted by the Israeli military. Fine. And this is Israel, the yellow one is Israel. And look at this, this is the Gaza Strip, the small one. So this Gaza Strip and this part, West Bank, are part of Palestinians, Arabs. And I have discussed this also, Cyprus is Friday. So focus this dynamic part from the international relations. Also you focus this from dynamic part. And terrorist or the separatist groups, that is Hezbollah and Hamas. So you have the question for the day: attracting FDI into the manufacturing will require. So definitely we have seen our Prime Minister Narendra Modi on the sidelines, or else the webinar of US India Strategic Partnership Forum. He has made it very clear that he wanted to open up the FDI. They have opened up in regards to defense, and then they wanted to open up in various other fields also, like railways and others. Fine. So on the backdrop of the US India Strategic Partnership Forum, our Prime Minister Narendra Modi has emphasized, or he has laid down the confidence and is attracting the foreign investors, and especially the US investors to come and invest in India. So he has created confidence and convinced the investors that India is committed not merely in words, but in deeds as well, to an open, barrier-free global trade and investment order. Please do understand. Attracting FDI into manufacturing will require the government to convince investors that it is committed not merely in words but in deeds also. So, not only just making rhetoric talks or speech, but it should be that it will be not affecting the foreign investors, neither the indigenous market. So, this can be part of the economy. This can be part of IR in the mains examination. Mains examinations. So that is in regards to the trade and investment economy. Economy also, trade and investments. So it could be under World Trade Organization, and then again here in regards to the FDIs also. So that way, again focusing from IR point of view, US India Strategic Partnership Forum. So just to recapitulate what we have discussed is government suspension. So FCRI is important. So I did say about the four Christian groups, which could be again very important for prelims point of view. So FCRI, Foreign Contribution Regulation Act, and the four Christian groups wherein I discussed about where they are actually in the states and from which country they have actually been origin. And India Iran in regards to the Afghan peace, that is again in regards to the Afghan peace process IR point of view. Mopla, again this is in regards to the history point of view. And then again prelims point of view, ICHR. Keshavanda Bharati, yes, no doubt it is in regards to the polity prelims point of view. This we have discussed at length. Kerala Land Reforms Law. And the basic structure and separation of powers. Separation of powers. Polity point of view, prelims. And then this again in regards to the IR, can just focus this in regards to IR also. And geography map based, that they could ask about where is Lebanon or the capital city of Lebanon, and then Israel, capital city of Israel, Tel Aviv, and then in regards to Jordan, and then Egypt, Syria, Iran or Iraq. So all this can be discussed, and also Cyprus. So do focus in regards to this, all in regards to geography map based. So definitely I feel that this session was informative, knowledgeable session, and I would say a big thank you to all and a good luck. And then do like the video, share the video, and subscribe the video which I have said in regards to AKS IAS Academy English channel, which I was talking about. We would be gradually shifting to its the daily news analysis. And do visit the AKS IAS Academy website and also the Telegram link of AKS IAS Academy. And then see you tomorrow at 7:30 a.m. for daily news analysis. And then do maintain the consistency, as I repeat, daily. Stick to your schedule, and then take care of your physical health and mental health. So see you tomorrow at 7:30 a.m.